Okay, bowl time. So this is, making a bowl is one of the best demonstrations of why the basic skill for making pots is making a cylinder. So far, centering's the same, making the holes the same, opening the bottoms the same, with the exception of you have to conceptually, well, no, you have to actually decide whether you're making a flat bottom bowl or curved bottom bowl. And in the beginning, it may be just a crapshoot, depending on what happens. But if you're making a round bottom bowl where from the very center is just a gentle curve that goes up into a bowl, you have to open it that way. So when you're opening the bottom, it's no longer flat. It's very slightly curved because you're going to continue that curve as you pull the pot up. So I have a bottom here. This is a flat bottom bowl. So I made a flat bottom just like making a cylinder. Comb, same way. Notice my baby finger out here. I use my baby finger actually a lot to help. I mean, I've got big hands, so it's easy, but to help hold things steady, very frequently I have my baby finger out here touching the pot and helping to, I don't know what the right word is, contain, corral, assist, coax. Okay, my first pull here, I'm gonna go up, and about 2/3 of the way up I start going out. I'm gonna do that again, but now about 1/3 of the way I'm gonna start going out. I'm actually after a bell shape, like a trumpet. I'm making a trumpet bell. Same claw, same stretching the clay. The hands are in the same claw position all the way to the top. They're just now drawing this curved shape. And my intent, my goal here is to get this rim approximately where I want the rim of the bowl to be. So however wide I want that to be, I want this to be out there. And I want this to be a little bit wider, but I don't have much clay here to make it thinner. And so I'm just gonna push it out. Notice my hand here. My hand is completely relaxed at a curve. It's like if I just put my hand here without any pressure and it's just totally relaxed on the pot. But now I'm gonna push it out just a little bit, and I'm actually rotating it a little bit this way to push that rim out a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna make a bowl now that connects this spot down here and that spot up here to connect these dots. But the first thing I'm gonna do is make it a straight line, relatively straight line between them. Same claw, not much pressure, not much gap because the clay is already relatively thin. Now it's going to come more into a bowl shape. now more of a bowl shape. And then I look and feel the bowl. Okay, is there a spot it needs to push out a little bit more? So you won't be able to make these in the beginning with the bottom that small and that much of a curve. You have to destroy 100 of them first. But the reason this works, I mean, it's structural or it's architectural, that if you make the bowl first and then try to pull the top out, there's no support down here. So what people do to make bowls where you pull the rim out more is you have to leave a lot more clay down here. So there would be clay for most people almost all the way out to here that would have to be tooled later in order to provide the support to pull the rim out at the end. But if you pull the rim out at the beginning, you don't need that support. So this all came out of doing time studies back. I'd been making pots, I don't know, 3 years, 5 years max, something, probably more like 3 years. New Hampshire Potters Guild, we used to have our meetings every month at a different potter studio. So what was new with them, there were maybe 50 potters in the state, in the guild. And we had a meeting at Malcolm Wright's studio, who was a potter who had studied in Japan with one of the living treasures in Japan. If you don't know their living treasure program, it's worth checking out. They do it all art and craft media. People that are designated living treasures for it's really for their embodiment of the whole history of whatever the media tradition is, but it doesn't mean they're not doing things that are unique today. Like, not that they're not doing new things, but it's all very obviously rooted in that whole tradition. They're the carriers of that knowledge. Anyway, he worked with this guy, I think it was 3 years, maybe 4 years. He was one of the first Westerners, maybe, I don't remember, maybe the first Westerner who was accepted to work in his studio. And his first year there was carrying things around the studio as needed, but his job was to clean the master's studio at the end of the day. And he would clean, and he'd go make the announcement or ring the bell or whatever that he was done, and the guy would come out with white gloves on and go into the studio and go, if there was dust, not done yet. And, it was like his year of probation, basically. It's like, well, it's a level of commitment and attention to detail. Anyway, he passed. He wound up making some pots there, and he made very, very Japanese influenced pots. Beautiful pots. He wanted to know really how much money he was making, and the only way you can tell is if you really know how much time you're spending doing everything. So he hired a consultant who did that kind of time study work with corporations to come and meet with them, and then come back every couple of weeks to check on how he was doing and what he was doing. So it turned out he was making about $7 or $8 an hour, which in today's terms is probably 25, 35, 40, something like that. We were making $2 an hour, which in today's terms might be 15, probably 12, 15, something like that. And so the question was, how do we raise that? How do we make more money? And that you can't make pots faster than you can make pots. The longer you make them, the faster you get, but you can't force that to happen. And what we saw was the only place we could save time was trimming. In looking at the time, it took it was like 75%, if my memory's right, of the time to tool the pots as it took to make them. Couldn't fire the kilns faster, all that stuff was like, that was our leverage point, was trimming. So like how to learn to make pots that needed as little trimming as possible. And that led me to figure this out. So. There it is.